what this world needs is, or the only thing that can make the world better, or the only thing that'll change the world. And this is very important. I mean, think about this for just a sec. What's the first thing that enters your mind? What we need, the only thing that can help the world is what? The only thing that can help the nation, the only thing that will make Earth a better place is what? Maybe name 2 or 3 things if you want. But tune into that for a sec. Type them in, share them with each other while you're watching. And part of what I'm leading to is that it's kind of strange because every answer, that is to say 99% of the answers, are going to be wrong no matter what you say. People are going to say we need a new politician, we need a new this, we need a better support for children, better, support for children with special needs. What we need is more equality of gender, or equal pay, or what we need is racial equality. Everybody's got these differing opinions, and that's fine. But they're all incorrect. Not one thing we can do or implement in this world, not one material thing will actually save the day. It's not possible because you can't correct a world that's been messed up with the same minds that messed it up. What I mean is, we have to come back to humility, guys. We have to come back to, look, at what point do you just say, I guess we might not know how to fix it? At what point are the big oil companies drilling in the earth and ocean, oil spills killing everything? At what point do they go, well, maybe this isn't the best thing? Now, a lot of us can go, we totally agree with that. They should learn their lesson. But earthlings in general, human beings, don't do that. They keep thinking there's something else that will change things. And then you have kind of a buzzkill like me coming along to say none of that's going to work. So you can get ticked off and, change channels or stay on and complain about it, but still not going to fix it. Even if you complain about this or shut it off because you don't like this kind of commentary, you're not going to stop it. It's there. People like me, will say these things. So the only way we can really initiate a change is from the inside. Meaning, if you're going to fill in the blank, it has to be something related to God. More communion with God. More humility in our placement with God. More request for guidance on what we could do every day. Those are the only things that will change the world. The world we've created is designed to fail. The human beings here, they've got this propensity towards greed and, do what it takes to make more money so you can, rule the world or whatever. What a shame, and yet we can say that's really unfair and be mad at those people. But studies have been done that have proven that if you distributed all the earth's wealth equally amongst all the human beings here, we'd have about a day and a half of woohoo, we all get money. But shortly thereafter, they have proven that it would be back into the hands of those who had it in the first place and out of the hands of those who didn't. So why is that? Is it because somebody is bad taking it? It actually isn't. It's that there are people who think about nothing but money, so they tend to want it, manage it, and it's their thing. And then there are people who have issues, wounds around money, fears around money, or beliefs in lack, and they keep sabotaging themselves. So giving the money equally won't cure it, because everybody's going to end up back in their hyper greed or hyper need state of being, because that's their thinking. So, and I've learned that a little bit in my own way, sometimes the hard way, but in trying to help people and offer this and gift this and so on and so on. But I learned the difference between a miracle worker and a rescuer or an enabler, and we all have to learn that. But just because you've got some money doesn't mean you hand it to those who don't, because that actually could be the most harmful thing that anybody can do to them today. It's important to help teach them. It's important to help educate. I don't mean just on how to handle money, but educate on how they got there. And, a lot of people get confused about this Jesus saying, you know, a rich man cannot enter heaven. He has a better chance of, like a camel getting through the eye of a needle. We don't need to worry about exact interpretations of that and so on right now. I'm just saying, the point is, he's saying it's next to impossible. Or the old saying, money is the root of all evil. And so we say, oh, no, those are bad statements. They're incorrect. They're misinterpreted. Just for a minute, let's pretend that they're at least half correct. Then why were they said? Why is that kind of a consistent teaching in the Bible? There's all kinds of negative reasons. The church used it for their own, means, of course. A lot of that got twisted. But why is it there even if it's 50% accurate? Why? Because this concept of being out of control makes us feel powerless. The more we get money, the more we feel powerful. And so there's people that are addicted to that. Those who can't seem to pull that together, that false power, they are going to drink and have poverty and live lives that multiplying more and more children that don't need to be brought into this world. They're going to do things that poverty people do. And then what's strange is the world tries to figure that out and solve it. All kinds of theories. Well, if the rich people just gave more money to them, that would not cure them. And if the poor people take more of the rich people's money, that will not cure them. The problem is a thinking problem. It's a consciousness problem. So when I say that we're almost there, heaven is almost here, what I mean by that is, in one respect, or by some thought systems, heaven is already here, meaning not only is it an invisible dimension right here, which is kind of true, but also that we never even left heaven. There's a part of us, let's just say that we have, just like we say, we have a conscious and a subconscious self, right? If we can believe that, then imagine that it's possible to have a human and a spiritual self, both existing at the same time. I have a right brain and a left brain. But I have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And I have a human self and a spiritual self. So we believe the conscious and subconscious are here at the same time. We believe that, some things that would seem convenient for us to believe are here at the same time. You can't see the air, but you know it's there. You see the earth, so you say it's there. They're both there at the same time. Well, spirit is there at the same time that matter is there. And so heaven is here just like earth is here. I don't mean the heavens, the universe, stars and such. I mean the consciousness of God is actually here. And Buddha said, it's actually right here. All you need to do is lift the veils to see it. Oh, excellent. Thanks for that 411, Mr. Buddha. You forgot to tell us exactly how are we going to do that. And he says, no, actually, I did tell you how. I told you exactly how this happened, which is people forgot who they are. They lived in ignorance, became afraid, grasped at anything they could to give them a certain sense of semblance in their life. And those things they grab onto, they will lose now or later. Then they will end up suffering. All of that Buddhism, all wrapped up in a single kind of concept I just shared. And it's consistent with what I said a minute ago. Those people who feel afraid, they're going to either try to control, one way they do it is the power through the money. The others are going to be kind of collapsing into a depression because they don't know how to get that money, so they give up or take from others. Kind of a strange concept. World War I, World War II, here comes World War III. Where is it? World War III won't be like the others in many respects. Edgar Cayce said, you better watch out, folks, because World War III is a war between the haves and the have-nots. Those who have and those who don't have. Meaning, the desperation on planet Earth is going to reach an impasse where people more and more are going to fight in like a duality. God, look at what's happening, man. I think it's amazing. It's not great, but it is amazing. What's amazing to me is that people aren't seeing what's happening. More and more, there's arguing about president and Senate and this and that and the other. Even in professional sports, there's all these arguments starting to happen about whether they should stand or kneel when they pray or whatever. They're just athletes. Let's not make them into gods. Like what they do matters. They drink a certain soda. Oh, I got to drink that soda. They're athletes. They're not necessarily the pillar of what we should be looking at as our example of spiritual well-being. Although some of them are very spiritual and some are not. But I'm saying they're just that. They're just a thing. need not worship a celebrity, need not worship an athlete, and so on. So there's all this duality going on, and I'm thinking this is pretty ironic. People are actually arguing about these dualities. And it's kind of funny. They each think that they have something valuable to say. The only thing valuable in the universe is God. And only when God speaks is it valuable. And God only speaks love. So as soon as you sit there and start complaining about each other, right, wrong, you're automatically then wrong and have nothing of value to say. You might have something of value hidden beneath what you're saying, but then why not find that kernel of truth and get to that and share that? Heaven then is actually right here. You think you're going to see it while you rise up in one argument against another, or have somebody rise up against you in an argument? You know, I think sometimes people think I'm almost too detached because I say, I don't read newspapers, and in no way do I feel that there's that many human beings that are more intelligent than I am. And I don't mean IQ, but more intelligent than I am. I don't feel that walking around feeling threatened by other people being smarter because they read a newspaper. In fact, I think it's kind of an unhealthy compulsion to do that. You're reading what? Well, I got to know what's going on. By whose standards? You don't think that the news on TV or the newspaper isn't controlled by somebody that wants you to believe something? It's all very manipulated. So here we say at one point, heaven is right here, but clearly it doesn't look like it. So what I'm saying is there's two things that appear to be true, or at least people believe to be true. Heaven is actually right here. Heaven is far away. And I would say, instead of which one's right, I would say they're both right. They're both right in this. Heaven is right here. That's a fact. It's the truth. It is here. But it is invisible to us most of the time by frequency, vibration, and so on. Those who say heaven is, zillions of miles away, meaning not just the distance, but man's ability to experience is far in the distance. That's also true, which sounds like, well, I just contradicted myself, and I didn't. They're both true. In a multidimensional universe, two seemingly opposite things can simultaneously be true. So it is true that heaven is also far away, sadly. What does that mean, though? In distance again? No. It means mankind appears to be far away. Is it? Well, how could it be really far away when it's here and now? Then how can both be true? Because it appears to be far away, meaning again, mankind seems to not yet make it their first love, their first priority to once again find God, experience God, be God, and bring God to the world. When that becomes a priority, we'll say, here we are. The saying, random acts of kindness. Again, why? Oh, because it'll save us. Just like if you become a vegan, it's going to change you, save you. Those things of themselves will not save us. Random acts of kindness are an act that should be coming from an even deeper, more profound sense of light and self-worth. If I'm not, if it isn't the real me that's doing the random acts of kindness, I can still be doing gratuitous things. I can still say, watch me, I'm going to pay this person's bill. Oh, look at me. I can still make that an egotistic thing. And, the random acts of kindness can also be lip service, is what I'm saying. If it comes from an authentic, why am I doing random acts? Why are you doing random acts? Why do you watch this show? If it doesn't come from because I believe this is all that really matters. That doesn't mean I won't change my child's diapers or get them to school when they're old enough on time. I'm not saying don't do anything else. I'm saying what is the priority? What's the first most important thing? And if God's the most important thing, you can bet it'll get you to your kid's school on time. It's when we run on our own energy that we run into problems. When we run on our own accord, which obviously is an ego thing. I've said before, I'll say it again. Edgar Cayce was asked, what's the number one flaw of mankind? He said, self. That's all it is. Self. Self then becomes selfish. That self becomes, I lack something, like Buddha said, and I'm going to go out and get it for myself. Even when people say, I need to be heard, is all too often coming from a wounded or flawed or broken self. It's not necessarily coming from the God self. You think the God self says, now I need to be heard. Think about it. You know? Can you picture that? Maybe Jesus wasn't really that great of a teacher. Maybe just he was insecure and he just was like, I need to be heard. Blessed are the meek. And I hope you're all listening because I need to be heard. He didn't care. If you didn't hear him, he didn't care. Can you imagine Jesus? He's the person who said, those of you who are listening and get ticked off at what I'm saying, it's because your father is the devil. Like, wow, he's not bridging exactly, is he? He's not even trying to make friends. Let me make this clear, folks. That's because my father is God and yours is the devil. That's like a schoolyard argument. My dad can beat up your dad. Your dad is the devil. Mine is, you would almost think that's inappropriate to say. But what he's saying is the truth. He's saying the reason you people get ticked off at what I'm saying is because you are listening to the wrong guide. You're listening to the inner liar, the ego that's trying to ruin your ability to hear me, to hear light, to hear love. And he's saying, and I swear to you, I am coming from the light. And he says, look at what I'm doing. Just because my words trouble you or upset you, track it, look inside and see why. If you have some real legitimate reason, okay, share that with me. But really, it's amazing. He's so confident, like Buddha too, and other great teachers, men and women throughout history, they just knew what they were saying was the truth. Now, not necessarily the truth comparing and competing with other truths, but they just knew what they were saying was the truth as much as they could understand the truth in that time, in the moment, and how much they could present it to the people around. So when we say random acts of kindness, make sure we're coming from the deepest, most profound place. And secondly, those acts to other people, of course, have to remain unattached. We just do them because not only do we know they're coming from love in us, but we know those other people deserve it. If you do it thinking they're going to appreciate it in a certain specific way or with specific words, it's not going to work out so well. So you have to actually know that people deserve it. I think most of us would say, if we see a wounded animal, a wounded dog, and it's growling when we try to help it, usually we don't say, well, then die. You deserve to die, dog, because you're growling at me. We don't. With humans, we're not as patient for some reason. I won't go into the reasons why, but I'm saying, think about it. We're not as patient with people because they push our buttons more and we're more, tied into them in different ways. But isn't it strange that an animal, we could be more patient? When I think about this person on this interview saying, this would change the world, I really feel compassion for them because I realize, I know that you know your art, your music. I know that you're very popular. I know that you really believe the world needs to change, A, B, C, and D, and so on. But it's sad because you can tell the person doesn't really believe in God, doesn't know God, doesn't have a relationship with Spirit, and that's to their own admission. And without that, how are they going to find the peace they're looking for? And that's all okay because there's such a thing as reincarnation, so they'll get another chance or 1,000 more chances if they need. But when I'm looking at all this situation, the world, the heavens, reality, illusion, and where's our answers and what's going to happen and are we going to get it? Again, heaven's right here and yet it seems far away, but it's only far away because of the behaviors of mankind, the thought systems, the refusal to change. I have so often talked with people and shared with people, and sometimes, they're in audience, they talk to me after, they email, they text like you guys, they post something, and they're like, wow, this guy really has it together. And they become fans or students or friends or whatever you want to call that. All I need to do is say one thing that they don't agree with and they're gone, which means the love was never real in the first place. Now, if I were them, I would go, geez, if my love can die, it wasn't even there. And if this love, respect I felt for whomever, Gandhi or whomever, and then, we hear like people love Gandhi or Mother Teresa, then there'll be some ridiculous piece of news posted somewhere, usually on the internet, but they post something somewhere about, did you know that this person had this flaw? And then people, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't like them as much as I thought I did. I do my best that if, when I see a person and I respect a person, a teacher, whatever, I try to never lose the love. I might not prefer their style of music. There are some things that confuse me about people sometimes. Not really confused, but, figuratively. One of the most popular musicians of all time, success-wise, dollars-wise, pop musicians, popular, man, big act, was also known for singing about saving the planet. Really, really important songs. Clean the oceans, man. We got to clean the oceans. Or topics about, being healthy and fresh air and all these great concepts. Let's save the planet. And yet, this person was a flaming addict of just about every kind, constantly in trouble over their addictions. And I'm not saying that's bad or that makes them evil. I'm saying that even for me, it becomes kind of sad and confusing. Like, wow, to be so close, heaven is right here, and yet to be so far. The truth is, you will not be able to reconcile those two things. You can only in accepting them as a paradox. Why did this musician have so much love for the planet and so little for themselves? Think about it. And that is a hypocrisy. And not a good thing. None of our hypocrisies are good. They always come back to bite us in the butt. However, besides the heaven, is here and also far away, in the middle is Eden, which means don't wait for the one that's far away. Man, I'm telling you, there are some people that recognize that heaven is so far away that they'll even take their own lives. They may not know that that's what they're feeling, but I know that's what they're feeling. Because that's a very disparaging thing to come to understand. Just to sit and, I work with so many different kinds of people of so many different climes and walks of life, but I hear it, man, and I see it. I know, and I'm sorry, I say, I know it's difficult. If you focus on how far away it seems, but remember, it seems doesn't mean it is. But when you really get a grip on how far it seems, like even Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, it took you guys, let's say 1,000,000 years to get in the position you're in. Just pretend it's 1,000,000. He says, then technically, if the world is starting to wake up now spiritually, he says technically, it should be an equal amount of time to get back. If you have strayed 1,000,000 years away, it takes you 1,000,000 years to get back. And in all fairness, that's true. I mean, really, that's a fair answer, which is really discouraging, in my opinion. But he says, it should take an equal amount of time to get back. But then he says, but time is under our control. Meaning, miracles disperse time. One miracle can disperse years. It can disperse years. He talks about that in the Course. He says, recognizing certain things, just even epiphanies, can take, he says, thousands of years off of your lifetimes. And clearly he must be meaning that you have other lifetimes, reincarnation. So we can trim all this down by just getting our act together and making spirit a greater priority. So the last kind of main two themes I want to finish on is that the Eden means I'm not going to focus that it's heaven is far away, but I'm also not going to just pretend that I see it all the time, because I don't see it all the time. What I'm going to do is start trying to see it more. My here and now moments start to become more forgiving, more loving, more like heaven. But what is it called when you say something is like heaven? When you say heaven on earth, it doesn't mean you don't have heaven and you only have earth. Heaven on earth. When you have something like heaven, it's called Eden. Eden is the halfway point between heaven coming to earth and halfway between earth coming to heaven. And several of you have heard me say this many times, that you will not go to heaven as you are. We all will enter that higher dimensionality first and live kind of a fifth dimensional experience for a good long period of time, although time's an illusion, a good period of time where we will have a heaven on earth like experience. And how to do that to me is internal first, always internal. More love, more forgiveness, more patience, more tolerance, more looking at ourselves. If you say you're patient, tolerance, and you practice random acts of kindness, and you don't know how to look at your own garbage when you're triggered, I don't care how much you can justify that other person did something you don't like, you're actually deceiving yourself. If you can't see that, I don't need your random acts of kindness, thank you. I don't need your bumper stickers, because you're not living it. I love people that live the love. That's so cool. It could be a 2-year-old and it can be a 102-year-old. It's people that just get it. And as much as we all can stand in circles and chant together, that doesn't mean we actually get that. It means we're aspiring to it. It means that we would love to have that and feel that feeling of true inspiration in God. So we get in circles and we work it. We're having fun implementing it as best we can. But when you leave that circle, if you break the consciousness and not take it with you, you're still failing the implementation, the actual integration. Anything that's not integrated is hypocrisy, but anything not integrated will be lost. That's why I've said many times, if you have beauty and you misuse it or you don't use it properly, you will lose it in this life or another. If you have money and you misuse it or you don't use it properly, you will lose it next time around or whenever. You get away with not integrating. Integrating means I get it. I don't just have money, I have prosperity. And if I truly have prosperity in my consciousness, I'm constantly giving and sharing. One thing I did, many years ago, I got a retreat. I bought a retreat center and it was beautiful. We could do workshops and all that there. But it was kind of interesting because the bank said, here's a bunch of money, tens of thousands of dollars for you to, build the buildings and all that. Well, I did. We put them, paid contractors. I did all that. But I'm holding this cash, more or less. And I'm like, wow, I have $1,000. Paid the contractors, there's still $1,000. I didn't know, I couldn't think of what to do with it other than giving it away. I mean, it was probably to some people's standards completely irresponsible. But they're going, like I'm tithing for some of the money I got from the bank, the loan. They go, you don't tithe from a loan, it doesn't count. Because you still have to pay it back and with interest. How do you know that tithing it won't come back to you with interest? So, but that's how my brain works. It worked that way then and now. And of course, when people are saying, no, you shouldn't be tithing, you shouldn't be giving that away, you need it for one more set of drapes over one window when you're building this retreat center. I never thought that it would do me much good to think, save it for a rainy day. Because something might, go wrong. And so make sure you stow it away. Jesus was saying, go ahead, bury your money in the dirt, like as a savings. He says the earth's going to eat it up and its critters are going to eat it up. Go ahead, hide it here, put it there. It's going to deteriorate, even if it's gold or silver. It will eventually rot away. He says, store things up in heaven, which is in here. So really, we're better off being good people. Sharing what we have. I'm not saying go out and spend every of your last dime. Certainly not your rent and things that you need to be responsible for or with. But I am saying that's how I was. If I've got extra money, go ahead and pay for somebody's food in the line that you're in. Go ahead and pay somebody's tollway. I mean, why not? If you have it. If you're struggling, ask for some help and receive miracles from people that will sense that they can help you. I mean, I just believe that when you see heaven on earth, one symptom of it is that people are helping each other. Not pitifully, but actually understanding. I'm not helping you because I feel sorry for you. If I feel sorry for you, I've already condemned you as being less than a holy being. I want to help you because that's the role you're playing right now, and this is the role I'm playing. I have a few extra dollars. Let me share that with you. So it's such a beauty to it, for me anyway. I know some people get stressed about these kinds of ideas that I'm sharing, but Eden. You can't be saying you want heaven when you haven't even learned how to integrate Eden. Eden is what? Giving and love and forgiveness and implementing this to the best of our ability. First on the inside, a good, loving person. But I truly believe that if I don't see that good, loving person on the outside, I'm still seeing a contradiction, a conflict. So how do I bring it to the outside? And that's what I meant by, a little extra payment, a little extra here and there. I just think it's important. I just think it's helpful. Every time we see someone struggle, and it's not just money, it's like I said, your beauty, your words. I go on tours, and sometimes people are really struggling. And what can I do to help? Not just internally, externally. That's why when I've talked about the world, the condition of the world, or even the future condition as it gets maybe more severe, I said, I want to get a retreat again, but a different kind. It'll start maybe as a retreat like I had before, where teaching happens, but I want to make it even more global, more important for everyone, not just the students that come there. But I would like to see it changed to where we're creating this retreat, which I call Edenshire, like a village of Eden, where we can share foods, like let's grow foods that we can help give to people. Let's bring in alternative energy that we can share. Let's create houses that, who knows, one day people might have to come to, like an ark, a Noah's Ark kind of thing. I do believe this is going to happen. I do believe these things are needed. Whether we manifest it or not, that's just where we're at right now. We're going in that direction. We have a website in case you're interested, Edenshire.org. But what I was getting to was, we have to bring this to the outside, not just the inside. So when I'm on tour, God, sometimes you can just tell that someone, they go, hi, beautiful, that was an amazing lecture. I say, thank you. But I can tell there's something more. They need my hand on their shoulder. They need a hug. Sometimes brushing their hair off of their face, or taking their hand one extra time. A smile. Please hear what I'm saying right now, because I feel it as an inspiration, and it brings miracles. And I know we're all miracle workers. So don't underestimate that those little random acts of kindness are not just the big ones that that they appear to be, but in fact, instead, a different look, a different view, a different way of integrating and manifesting it. I mean, isn't that cool? Like, let's do it. So if you like what I said, if you even heard what I said, like, wow, that sounds nice, for a spiritual teacher to kind of take a moment. There was Leo Buscaglia, I think is the way he usually pronounced it. It's been many years since I met him and knew him, but Leo was way back in the 80s. He was the guy at the end of a talk. He would stand there and be willing to hug every person. They'd all get in line. He would hug every single person. And not like, thanks, next, thanks, like a typewriter, next. He would hold you and just download love. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. It was his thing. And he was known for that at the time. And here it is, 40 years later, and I didn't forget that. I thought it was beautiful that he did it. So remember that these acts of brushing the hair off a person's face, how beautiful that is. God, I mean, don't take it for granted. And that's just not, oh, Michael's so nice. No, you. What are you doing? So when you're looking on the other side of a counter of a checkout person, but maybe a ticket counter at an airline or whatever, wherever, make sure you just stop for a second and say, that was very kind of you, thank you. I did this on the airport coming back from Dallas the other day. They, my God, for whatever reasons, I didn't get the pre-check, so I got in the longer line. So I'm going through the longer line. That's kind of a bummer because, you time things just right and you get there and it's a little longer, but I get through, no problem. I go through, they pull one of my bags. They typically do because I have cookies or something in it, and for some reason, don't ask me why, it's a true story, that tends to ring the alarms. They probably have vegans running the machines, and that's why. But my cookies and stuff tend to ring their alarms. So they always take it out. I said, no problem. They take it out. But this time, they went on and on and on, searching, make sure my cookies are real cookies, make sure this is that, and so on. Okay, are we done? No. This time, they had to pat me down. They put on the gloves. I'm thinking, you got to give me your number first. No, I'm kidding, but are we really going to go here? And would you like this in a private room? I'm like, isn't this funny? Because students might think, oh, it's when Michael goes through the airport, he probably floats through because he's a spiritual teacher. And a lot of times that's how it feels, to float beyond all the garbage. But sometimes you're going to be tested and challenged with the other stuff. What do you do? So while I'm standing there, I'm kind of like, okay, bummer, bored, waiting. They're not going to find anything, but I'm waiting, and then finally this guy, and then he goes on break. Now he's got a tag team with someone else who comes in. He's got to tell him what things he did and didn't do. Then the other guy's going to start doing it. I'm like, this is almost comedic. But okay, finally thinking what we can often think. These guys don't care. They do whatever they're going to do and they don't care. One of them that's finally gave me the bags back, he said, I'm really sorry about all the extra time. I had already made up in my mind that whatever they were going to say, I was still going to maintain being kind. Then that created him being kind, and he said, I'm not saying that he wasn't kind in the first place. I'm saying one thing deserves another, one creates another. So I thought, well, I'm just going to be kind. And he said, oh, I'm really sorry, sir, for all the extra time that took. It was really a bit of a mess. And I stop, I look in his eyes and say, I appreciate you saying that. See, I didn't have to have him say it, but let him know. I appreciate you saying that, and I know, what you guys are doing is for the greater good. There you go. Now his day is going to be different. I didn't pay him. I didn't tip him. I didn't, probably not even allowed to, but all it was kindness. Your eyes, your eye contact, your smile, a deep breath sometimes, you never know, a little levity, who knows? But the heaven does not come without Eden first, and Eden is the random acts of kindness right here, right now, as many as we can. Some days we're not in the mood for it. That's the day you pray for someone else to bring you a little bit of Eden. And I close with just the idea, in case you're not familiar with it, I since I mentioned it, only this much, that we are wanting to create this center, and it happening in itself is an experience. There's challenges. So always remember this. Just because you have a challenge does not mean you're going the wrong way. Just because they practically strip search me in the airport does not mean I'll never fly again. Although that's a decent consideration. But just because there's an obstacle does not mean, like some people say, if there's an obstacle, you're going the wrong way. That is incorrect. If you have an obstacle that is more, it's greater in size and power against you than the payoff that you're heading for, then it's not worth it. So what you need to do is make sure, even though I have an obstacle, the goal is still much bigger. And the goal needs to be great. The goal needs to be God. It needs to be love. It needs to be forgiveness. It needs to be friendship, all those things. So keep these things in mind for yourselves. And if you want to know more about the Edenshire, that's a website, like I said, edenshire.org. And there you can, come and visit, check it out. But my guidance on this, and a lot of people already joining in the idea, is we have to also ground, not just talk it, but ground a place like Eden on earth. Therefore, let's make something that looks beautiful. Let's make something that feels peaceful. Let's make something that even has to deal with logistical things like organization and decisions, but do them from a loving place. And, the alternative energy and the healthy or organic gardens and all that stuff, to me, it's back to Eden. It's let's get back to Eden. And I pray that you guys get that, and that you're hearing this, that this makes sense. I pray that you can implement it in your own life somehow. But do understand the goal of such things. Let them be inspirations. Don't just jump on things, but let them be inspirations. Do not think that an obstacle means you're going the wrong way. Sometimes it means you're being tested. Most of the time, in fact, you're being tested. We set into a new direction in life, and tests are going to come. That doesn't mean you should cave. But I will say this. Greater dependence on God walks you through those tests. Greater dependence on yourself, and even if you get to achieve what you sought or set out for, you've still lost the test. You still lost the moment. So if you don't end up with more God after each day, after each test, after each decision, after each ending of a relationship or ending of a lifetime, if you don't end something with more of God, something is wrong. Please hear what I said energetically and figure out how to create your own. Inside first and then outside. And if all you do is create a nice garden in your backyard that you can sit at and birds and butterflies come to it, just soak it in. A bit more of God on a tangible level.